Did you hear from AP and Dan specifically about how they plan to use you and what they want you to do?
Yeah, they're gonna let me rush. That's what I do. Jaden Daniels, he's one of best quarterbacks in the league already.
Another day and another touchdown grab for Ja'Cory Brooks. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is making a serious case to make the 2025 Washington Commanders roster as an undrafted free agent. Also, you have players and coaches raving about Von Miller's presence and what he can mean for not only this defensive line room from a coaching standpoint, but also he can actually contribute. Let's talk about that and much more as we're breaking down everything from Washington Commanders Day 2 of training camp. Let's talk about it.
The way that we live is not for everybody.
Nah, that ain't it, y'all.
How do you think the rest of Jaden Daniels' career is going to go? If we're, 6, 7 games into Jaden Daniels' career, and he's already milking injuries?
Stop saying my name, you dick rhyme bastard. I love the way she move it, shake it on me. When she fly for him, and shawty is the winner. You can tell that shawty's low beginner. She's confident.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here. We in the Washington Commanders video, and in today's video, coming on here breaking down all things Commanders coverage and training camp from day 2. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Before we do, make sure you guys go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload new videos like this to the channel. We're on the road to 11,000 subscribers, so we greatly appreciate if you can reach that goal as soon as possible. Also subscribe to 4th and 1 and the Burgundy Breakdown. Those links are down below in the description. You will love them. Thank you so much. Let's get straight to it. So first things first, I want to talk about Dan Quinn's press conference as he went out his way to talk about the Sam Cosby comments from yesterday, and he's like, let me clean those up, as people kind of heard what he said and got super excited, me as well included, because I definitely thought Sam Cosby was a guy that was going to miss, at least the first portion of the season. But according to Dan Quinn, he seems to be hitting all the markers and ahead of schedule. Well, let's talk about what he actually meant. So Dan Quinn was saying that he wants to shoot for a timetable where Sam Cosby is able to be on the active roster, not necessarily have him out there starting week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, but have him on the active roster, because if you don't, then he'll be subjected to be out for the first 6 weeks of the season. So him saying what he said yesterday about him being ready for week 1 wasn't necessarily saying that he will start and play. It's more so just about having him activated to have him on the roster, and if worst case scenario, hopefully not, but if worst case scenario he has to step in, then maybe he can do so. So that was a little bit of the, not miscommunication, but a little bit better understanding about his specific comments on Cosby. Still hope that he can, come back sooner than expected, but don't expect him out there week 1. He also went out his way to talk more about 36-year-olds and 35-year-olds and how this roster is, much older, and what are they doing to, help these guys stay fresh throughout the 17-week season. And he said, well, alongside Josh Harris and Adam Peters, we put up these new, therapy rooms and, recovery rooms for guys of the elderly age to be able to recover faster and be able to sustain a very, very long season. And I think that is very, very key to why you saw the success of a Bobby Wagner and you saw the success of a Zach Ertz last year and some of these other older guys, is because when it comes to preparing and recovering these older players, they take that very seriously. So it wouldn't surprise me if a guy like Von Miller is able to come in and play all 17 games and the postseason if we do make it, because of how they treat these guys. Speaking of that, today was a veteran rest day for Von Miller, for also Noah Brown, and for one Laramie Tunsil. So again, they are taking this thing very, very serious. They want to have their guys prepared. They want to have their guys fresh and ready to rock and roll. And that is something that I think is very, very special about this unit and about this coaching staff. Is it just shows to you that they genuinely care. They genuinely care about the health of their players, and you just love to see it, because that is what it's about. It's about caring for your players so they can go out there and perform at the best of their abilities. Dan Quinn also talked about Jaden Daniels and talked about what, keeping Cliff Kingsbury and Tavita Pritchard and David Blau and all of these guys together. What does that mean? And it creates this ecosystem that spins back to the success of the main person, and that is Jaden Daniels. So of course, keeping Cliff Kingsbury and keeping David Blau and keeping Tavita Pritchard, all these guys in his circle, was huge this offseason, because we know the success and the relationship that these guys genuinely have. I think a lot of people on the outside looking in, they see the relationship of a Jaden Daniels and a Cliff Kingsbury and say, man, that is why Jaden Daniels is so successful. And that is a huge reason as to why he is successful, don't get me wrong. But I think personally, even more than that, a guy like David Blau is somebody that I think he connects well with, very much so. Remember last year they played a little horse game with throwing and stuff like that, and I think they connect on a different level, and I think that's why you're able to get the success out of Jaden Daniels that you're able to, because I think he has different relationships with all three guys, but they're all important and they all have an impactful relationships on him, right? You think about Cliff Kingsbury, a guy that's an offensive guru, former head coach, played the position as well, right? So he knows what he's doing. And you got David Blau, who's just fresh out of not playing ball. Really was just playing ball, 2-3 years ago. So he's younger, so he can kind of relate to a Jaden Daniels. You have Tavita Pritchard, who in my opinion is going to be the next Cliff Kingsbury in terms of next man up. If Cliff Kingsbury in fact goes to get a head coaching job this next upcoming offseason, I think Tavita Pritchard is the guy that steps up and get that offensive coordinator role. So again, he's spoiled, with the success of former quarterbacks in his room, and I love that. And Dan Quinn, he basically alluded to that, like having these guys back for a year or two is huge, because not only is Jaden able to, continue to build off what they did last year, but you don't have to start over, right? You don't have to be, unfortunately, like a Caleb Williams who's having to learn a whole new offense. You can kind of just bring in where you left off and just build off of last season. So I think that was very, very well. And there were some other things that he spoke about in his press conference but those were the main three things. Now getting to the on-field portion of today's practice, let's start by talking about the defensive side of the ball. Can I please rave about this defensive line and secondary for a second? Javon Kinlaw is looking amazing in training camp, both physically and like just a guy of great leadership as well, because Brandon Coleman yesterday had practice day one, and Javon Kinlaw was working him and getting the best of him, man. B. Cole stepped to the podium today and was like, man, yeah, with the tradition of going to God, Javon Kinlaw, I asked him what was he seeing to really dominate me yesterday, pause, of course. And he was like, he gave him some tidbits of how he was able to do it. And Javon Kinlaw, like, a lot of people have this misconception about him because of, past actions in the media, but he seems to be a very, very down-to-earth person, a very, very great teammate, and on the field, this guy is an absolute unit. And I know a lot of people were questioning that signing when we first made it. It was like, Juan, did we overpay him? Is Adam Peters going to regret this signing? And I trust the guy that knows his guy. And Javon Kinlaw statistically may not have had the stats to prove the contract that he got, but he is coming off of his best season truly in terms of health and production with the Jets. He looked really good last year, so I think they're paying him based again off of his trajectory of where he can potentially reach. And if he can get 17 games out of him again plus the postseason, I think this guy is going to be absolutely amazing. Then you look at just overall the whole D-line unit being hyped today. Daryl Tapp is such a really great coach. He brings the energy. You got guys like Daniel Wise out there and Dietrich Wise, and you also got Sheldon Day, Eddie Gomez. Like, they're getting active and getting right to it, man. So I think this defensive line had a huge makeover this past offseason, especially interiorly, and I think it can be amazing, especially when it comes to stopping the run. We know the NFC is very heavy, and our schedule is loaded with playing against a very, very elite back. So we'll get tested early and often for sure. I also want to talk about a guy like Deron Payne. Is it just me, or does it feel like Deron Payne is kind of flying under the radar this training camp and really off season? Like, this is the first time in a while that he's not truly in the media, and we all know Deron Payne's a guy that is a man of very few words. He doesn't like to really speak, doesn't really like the action and limelight on him. In the past couple of seasons, it's been that. Had the pressure of the contract really been holding him back? We'll see, as he's on his last opportunity to prove to this organization that he still is one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. Now, I will say I can feel a little bit of that if that is the case. It wouldn't surprise me if he's able to have a bounce back year like he did in 22, because after 22, he had 11.5 sacks, got the contract extension, and then the expectation risen, and he had all the attention on him as he was one of the best players on this team, right? And then for so long, him and Jonathan Allen, the Bama Wall, they've always had this attention on him, and Deron Payne's finally able to kind of just duck off and put his head down and work. So just keep your eye out for Deron Payne. I mean, they're not saying much about him yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if he has a 2022-esque season this upcoming year. And like I said, guys like Eddie Goldman, veteran presence in that room, is going to vote well for a lot of the young guys, Johnny Newton and all those guys. And then when you come to the edge rushers, man, Von Miller, he spoke today, as you guys know and seen, and it got me juiced, man. It truly did. I understand he is 36 years old, but the way he talks and his role expected here in Washington is to just rush the passer. I think he is going to be really good for this defensive line, not just as a on-field coaching, a guy that can have, leadership and, show the way. The actual production, I think he can do. He said, bro, I can still rush with the best of them. I'm 36, but I'm rolling out my bed with my house shoes on, able to just get right in my stance and rock and roll.
And still roll out the bed, at 36 years old with my house shoes on, and still rush the passer.
And he's really looking forward to playing with Washington. When you have a guy like Jaden Daniels, right, and you have a guy like Von Miller at the age that he's at, he's like, bro, I'm not about to go play with no regular quarterback, right? Like, I'm not gonna BS you. Going from Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford, and all those guys, it's very tough. So I'm not about to go somewhere where they have to rebuild, bro. I'm going where I know I can compete and win for a Super Bowl. That's essentially what he said. And he said Jaden Daniels is that. And that's the reason why I came to Washington. So, again, Von Miller, he looks quick, looks spry, still looks very, very much in shape and can compete at a high level. So I'm excited about what he can bring. He had a veteran day off, as I already mentioned, with Noah Brown and also Laramie Tunsil. So we're taking very good care of our veteran guys, and that's going to bode well for his trajectory of the season, his long standing of the season, because we expect to, not only play 17 games, but also the postseason as well. So we'll see, but I am truly excited about Von Miller and what he can also provide for this defensive line. Dorrance Armstrong, who had a strong postseason last year, is expected to get a lot of snaps on the pass rushing front as well, and he can come in and really be great. Also, Frankie Louvu getting a lot of action as a pass rusher. I told you all back in the spring that this is what they were going to do. Frankie Louvu is not even working with the linebacking core. He's working strictly with the pass rushers and defensive ends.
So I still got some of them traits where I can use now where I'm here now in Washington. So, but every time I'm on the edge, like I said, the more I can do, to help this team, I'm with it.
I told you, I said, man, Frankie had 8.5 sacks last year, right? And due to the lack of, addition until Von Miller to the pass rushing game, I said they're expecting Frankie Louvu to take a really, really good lump and chunk of snaps at the pass rushing and edge rushing defensive end position. So don't be surprised if Frankie Louvu is your primary pass rusher on third down alongside Von Miller. That is going to be nasty this year. And then you got Joe McGee as your stand-up backer. Woo-wee. This defensive line has an opportunity to be really special. I'm not kidding you. And now, let's talk about this secondary. They made a very great point to show Marshon Latimore today. They made it like an extensive requirement. Like, show Marshon Latimore. They had the cameras on him today, and he looks excited. He looks spry. He looks young. He looks healthy, man. And he's a true X factor, not only for this defense, but to really win this fan base over and extend his stay here in Washington, because a lot of people turned sour on Marshon Latimore, for rightfully so, right? Of course, he was dealing with a hamstring, but when you make an addition like that, you expect him to come in and immediately make a huge impact, and quite frankly, he didn't do so. So, of course, when fans are getting upset and down, it's tough. But also, Marshon Latimore, he wasn't healthy, and he said, bro, yeah, there were some times and where I wanted to prove that they made the right decision. So when I wasn't healthy, I decided to play, when typically I probably would have sat out. So he finally had a whole offseason to truly train and heal up and get right, and he looks amazing, dog. Like, I'm excited for what he can bring, and I hope he silenced the critics. He's the defensive version of Deebo Samuel, if you ask me, because a lot of people are down on him and they're counting him out, especially across the league, but I think he's going to shut all the critics up. And then his running mate, Trey Amos, Trey, rookie, is out there hooping, and he's picking up right where he left off in the spring. He looks good. Per Scott Abram said, he looks ready to rock and roll. Like, everything that you look on tape and on film from SEC ball at Ole Miss, that's exactly what he's doing, and it's translated well to the NFL level. And that's why I told you all, I said, man, this secondary and cornerback specifically with Mikey Samverstell, Marshon Latimore, and Trey Amos has an opportunity to be the best in the NFL. Not just the best in the conference, not just the best in the division, but the best in the NFL. And it has a lot to do with our boundary corners. Mikey Samverstell, absolute beast, okay? And then today, Noah Igbenogany getting on to the on-field play and continuing on with the defense side of the ball. He had a very, very great play today. Can't forget about Noah I, as he had a nice PBU, right? And he's your bench guy. Noah had to come in and start, and not saying he can't do that, because if he can, he's good. But now Noah is your first guy off the bench. Then you got Jonathan Jones as well. Like, this secondary had a complete makeover, and I'm so glad to see. These are things in the past that we would have ignored, right? And we finally killed a lot of position makeovers this past season. Of course, we're still far from where we want to be, but think about it, right? You make over the offensive line, bringing in Josh Connolly and Laramie Tunsil. You literally make over the secondary cornerback position, more specifically with getting rid of Emmanuel Forbes and Benjamin St. Juste and Michael Davis, and bring Trey Amos and Jonathan Jones, right? Like, these guys, they really work. Shout out to Adam Peters, man. I'm super excited about that. But that's all I really have to say about the defense side of the ball. Just stay tuned, as they're working, and I'm excited for them. Now, let's talk more about this offensive side of the ball now, as Ja'Cory Brooks, yet another day and another dollar for this man. I'm telling you all, he is really, really putting the press on this coaching staff to allow an undrafted free agent like himself to make this roster, because he had another touchdown grab today. He had another couple good games as well, and he even stayed after with Josh Johnson to get some extra work in, and he said, I just want to show them that I'm in shape. Those was his exact words, and I'm super excited about him, because a lot of you all was like, hey, well, like I said yesterday, y'all was loving Ja'Cory Brooks in the spring. So let me find out. They need to hire some of y'all in the scouting department, because some of y'all know where talent come from. And again, it's not a surprise, because he is a former Alabama guy. So it's not like he didn't have the talent, right? But to be undrafted, you have a tough role, because you have to really impress these guys, and he's been off to an elite start the first 2 days of camp. Maybe he is what we wanted Cam Sims to be. Maybe he is this year's Tyler Owens, because he has been showing out, especially against the ones too. That's the impressive part about it. It's not like he's just beating up on practice squad members. He's actually out there competing and hooping with the first string defense and first string team. So I'm super excited about it. And I know I keep saying it, but it's just so good to see the improvements that this team has made over the first 2 seasons of Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels, and Adam Peters. A little bit of the offensive line. So Brandon Coleman stepped to the podium today, and he's such a jolly guy. Like, he is so excited, and you could just like see how thankful he is for these opportunities, especially like after last year where he had a lot of ups and downs, showed some flashes, had some lows at the left tackle position. He looks just so excited for year 2, and he said, yeah, man, there's a true transition to the interior offensive line. I'm not going to sit up here and lie to you, but it's been going well. And after day one, you know, steady improving and asking questions and learning from LT, Laremy Tunsil, and learning from Nick Algrady and stuff like that, I think Brandon Coleman is the new Brandon Scherff. And I'm not talking about in terms of being an all-pro, pro bowler. I'm not saying he's going to reach that kind of level. I'm not sure just yet. But in terms of transitioning smoothly from the tackle to guard position, I think he's the next guy up. And I told you all entire offseason, not only do I think the defensive side of the ball, cornerback room can have a top three unit with those three guys over there and be the best in the league and those top three cornerbacks of ours. I think this offensive line, at full strength and at health, can be a top 5 unit. Yes, I truly do. And Brandon Coleman's a big reason as to why I feel that way. And then you have your bookend tackles into Josh Connolly Jr. and Laremy Tunsil. But he spoke today. And you could just see how important this truly is to him. He said, I just love the game and I love practice. That's one thing that a lot of people, you know, shy away from, is practice. And I don't. I love it. And he truly set the tone for the aggression that you need in the trenches, right? You need to be able to love the game because the trenches is where you win. And he talked a lot about that, and I think a big year is going to be coming for Brandon Coleman, and I'm super excited with him on that front as well. And as I was about to end this video, the Washington Commanders dropped some more news as they decide to extend Percy Butler, safety, special teams guru. He's a guy that may not be the best player in coverage, may not be a safety on this team. I can look at him and be... And just Jeremy Reeves right there. I can see him being the new Jeremy Reeves that's solely on this team year after year just for his special teams ability. This guy is amazing. I remember when he came out, I want to say, was it Louisiana Raging Cajuns? Like, they said he was a special teams guru. Like, that was his, you know, moneymaker right there. And it was just always about him hopefully growing into a safety, but that's not what it is for him. And you need these guys like that. And I know I keep jazzing us up and whatnot, but it's hard to not do when you have all these great players in great positions. Does Washington have one of the best punt coverage teams in the NFL? I wouldn't put it past us to have that, if you want to be honest with you. Whether it's Jeremy Reeves, it's Tyler Owens, it's Nick Bellore, it's Percy Butler. Like, this unit is very, very special, and you continue to give Tressway all these weapons for punt coverage. So shout out to Percy Butler for getting his bread, and he'll be around for another season.
As you guys know, your man Juangotti's computer has officially broke. So if you guys want to help donate towards a new one, feel free. Link down below in the description.
So there you have it. Day 2 in the books for the Washington Commanders. Not quite a lot of stuff on field action just of yet, but we are ramping things up. More about getting the guys in there, hearing from them, than it is on-field play. As we get into training camp deeper, the on-field action and practices will get more intense, longer, and better. That being said, let me know what you guys thought of the video in the comment section down below. As always, being boy Juan, gotta make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Helps to watch the Commanders. We're on the road to 11,000 subscribers, so we greatly appreciate if you reach that goal as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Y'all have a blessed one. Stay safe. Be easy out there. Peace.
Ballin' like I'm D-Sean, throw the bomb, G. That's IG, my jersey never seen a laundry.